All right, we're now joined by Kyle Sarrazin, Director of Player Development in his 5th season here at Virginia Tech. Currently, we're standing in the brand new pitching lab. Talk to me a little bit about kind of how important this space is for you guys and how you guys utilize it.
Yeah, appreciate you being here, man. I mean, this is probably the most in-depth look we've had at this facility since it's opened last year. For us, it's a lot about kind of making sure that our guys have a place where it's just our pitchers, right? I mean, a lot of programs are sharing one indoor space between hitters and pitchers, and it can get cluttered at times, especially when you have this winter weather, right? So for us, it's a way for our guys to kind of have their own space, get their work in, get their recovery, and also have a bunch of baseball technology where we can make the most out of their bullpens, make the most out of their day-to-day work. So there's kind of different areas within the lab here where we have technology kind of linked to the mound. We have a recovery area, we have a weightlifting area, and it's really everything our pitchers could ever really need. Here, we'll start with our arm care suite. So this is our K2 sleeve. This is something that we got at the beginning of the spring here. Big recovery thing for guys. So I think a lot of stuff with pitchers obviously revolves around throwing, right? And so we want our guys to be able to get their throwing in even if they're not feeling 100%. There's some times where guys will take days off, no doubt.
Right.
But if there are ways that we can kind of get our guys' arm moving, alleviate that lactic acid in there, we can use this K2 sleeve, and it kind of takes some of the stress off their arm, allows them to throw on a consistent basis. They're actually big leaguers who've had shoulder issues, had UCL issues, they've been rehabbing back or just trying to get through a season, and they use this in game. Mostly position players, not arms, but we've had guys throw bullpens with it. They love it. Not as much stress when they're trying to build up to that live day again, right? So then the next thing we'll kind of go through is this armcare.com sensor. So this measures a lot of internal, external rotation stuff with our guys, grip strength stuff. It's all done through your iPhone, so you can pull out your iPhone, have the app up, you'll see your numbers. It will give you indicators of your arm score at the end of the whole thing based on your measurements. And then what we do with our guys is we take a pre-exam and a post-exam on days that they throw off the mound. So bullpen days and live days.
Right.
That gives us a pretty good idea of how guys are trending throughout the season. And this is just something that with the iPhone, with kind of the app, the way it's built out, they partner with the crossover bands.
Right.
And they give you an arm care program specific to your deficiencies.
And so then just basically, you see, hey, this is what you were looking like on a bullpen day. This is where we're at. Then post, this is where you're lacking now in mobility. These are the things we need to do to build you back so we can get you back on the mound fresh, ready to go, essentially, right?
Exactly. The more data it gets on you, the easier it is for them to put together a program based on kind of what they've seen on guys to get you back to where you need to be, right? So like we said before, we're trying to keep our guys mobile, keep our guys' arms fresh. Obviously, there's going to be some wear and tear. But if our goal with our guys is to get them feeling as good as possible for their mound days. In between starts, in between outings, whatever it may be. So the next thing we do, this is stuff we'll do with our freshmen who come in during the summer so we can mix it in with their weightlifting program. So typically after their lifts, they'll come in, they'll strap this thing up right here, put their fingers in, and this is the Flex Pro Grip, right? So this is something that some Virginia Tech engineers, doctors had a connection to. Got together with this company. Some big league teams are on the forefront of it right now. One of them actually just bought equity in the company. And there's some stuff that you can do to strengthen your forearm and strengthen your UCL. I think right now with the era we're in, you're seeing a lot more forearm and UCL issues. I think it's a combination of stuff increasing, the emphasis on stuff increasing. You have the pitch clock, which is a new variable. We're trying to figure out what's going on there. And guys are being asked to throw a lot harder. Guys are being asked to spin the ball a lot higher, being asked to kind of throw with a lot better stuff in a shorter period of time. So if we can strengthen their UCL, strengthen their forearms, get them on a good program in the summer, get them on a good program in the fall when they get here, hopefully it helps them with their longevity come springtime. So it's our first year using this.
Absolutely. And I just can't imagine how important, all this stuff, just the arm care stuff, to be able to, continuously build, like you were saying, throughout the year. So we're not at our freshest in February. You don't want to be at your freshest in February. You need to be at your best and your freshest come April, May, and June when the games get the most important, right?
Trust me, as the games get more important, as the temperature rises, we want our guys' velo rising, right? We want our guys' stuff keep on getting better, and we want to have guys keep on adding on to our staff, keep on growing into roles, whether it's more innings out of the bullpen or being able to go deeper into games, right?
Absolutely.
So
can never have too much depth come that time of year.
No doubt. So the other thing that we'll kind of do in here is we have our weightlifting area, we have our arm carry area, we also have kind of the pitch design side of things, where when we do our bullpens in here, we have Edgertronic that we have access to, we have TrackMan we have access to, we have our sensor edge mount we have access to. So we can throw this stuff up right on the TVs. We got 4 TVs in here. Sometimes we'll have guys' previous outings going on one of these TVs. We have a play site out on the field. So we have 6 different camera angles, open side hitter, open side pitcher on both sides. And then we have a high home, a center field. And we can pull up and be like, hey man, this is what we're seeing in your last outing. Like, let's work on this in your bullpen. So this sensor mount's live right now. You can see a previous TrackMan sessions up with one of our guys. So we can take a look at some Edgertronic video here quickly before we kind of get into the sensor mount. So you can see how I have all his pitches laid out here. You can see all the metrics side of things. But I think this is the key for our guys, is being able to see it visually. Right? I'd say 90% of our guys are visual learners. So when you're talking about pitch design, when you're talking about making adjustments, being able to see both how they're moving down the mound with the sensor mounts and seeing what the pitch is doing out of their hand when they're getting to that consistent release point, I think that's where guys can really make adjustments. So we'll look at a guy here where we're working on his slider last bullpen. So you can see he had a couple kind of above the line here where he's getting that same amount of sweep. But they're probably popping out of his hand a little bit. It just wasn't as good of a pitch as we were seeing when he was able to get it below the line. And kind of looking at this one here, you can see how much more direct he is. Right? And
he's not forcing it almost.
No, and that pitch isn't popping out of the hand, right? So it looks like a fastball a long way to the plate, and that's what we want, right? We want stuff to look like the fastball as much as possible and to kind of tunnel right. And we're able to kind of show guys video, and it was ultimately he was kind of casting it a little bit. It synced up with kind of what we were seeing on the force plate mound, where he was pulling off with his glove side, the arm was kind of flying out. So we just, his cue is just to stay linear, compact, and direct. And when he's doing that, he's able to kind of get to that release point where he's able to get below that horizontal or below that vertical line, get on top of the baseball a little bit more, and instead of just getting that sweep and it's a little bigger pitch out of the hand, it's kind of looks more like the fastball. He's able to get more swing and miss.
Tighter, absolutely, and then building the consistency of being able to do it over and over again. And like I mentioned earlier, just you can shrink the time it takes to make the adjustment when things go wrong, right? When you have this type of stuff, when you're able to see it right away, you can see exactly what you were doing and you can make the adjustment quicker, which is why, I mean, to me, that's just huge, because now instead of maybe it taking a couple of days or 2 bullpens to figure it out, you can do it within 1 bullpen session, right?
Yeah, it's cool. I mean, with the transfer portal, with kind of being able to have these guys in camps and being able to get high school guys in here, being able to see TrackMan data across the country and transfer portal, we're not really guessing as much on players as we used to. So we kind of know what their stuff is. We know what we can kind of hopefully have an idea to make them into. And when they actually get here, sometimes they just haven't had access to this technology and being able to see what adjustments they had to make. So I think it takes a lot of the guessing out of the process in both player evaluation and like the development of saying, hey, I think you were on the outside of that one. Hey, I think you're, like, we actually have visual feedback for guys where we can make adjustments on reps. So let's get this sensor mount back up and then we can get you on it. So we're gonna demo this sensor mount, right? Let you guys have a little bit of fun with it. So it's on the live setting right now. You can see that we got it projected up on the TV. And as you kind of keep your feet within the rubber here, as long as you're coming set within the rubber, you're gonna be able to see what your back foot's doing. You're gonna be able to see as you throw a pitch what's going on down the slope, because it's about a 7-foot sensor that stays within the rubber that kind of gives our guys feedback on how they're moving.
So talk to me a little bit. What kind of numbers do you want to see ideally here? So when you have a guy up here, I'm going to throw here, it's probably not going to be within that ideal range of what you guys want. But what are some good things that when you're looking at this that you want to see from a guy?
So I think a lot of our guys, like with how physical they are, we have a really good strength program, really good nutrition program. It's just realizing that like once they put on that 20 pounds, 30 pounds in their first year or 2 here, like they don't have to do as much with their body like they were doing when they were 180 pounds instead of 210 pounds, right? So a lot of our guys that we kind of see, our young guys, will come up out of their back leg on leg lifts. We'll evaluate direction on here. We'll evaluate how guys come set and trying to put them in positions where they kind of just slot into riding down the mound versus kind of having to create that at the top of their leg lift. Just trying to make it easier, make it more compact for guys. Set them up for really good positions to just stay linear, stay repeatable, stay direct, and get their hand to that release point that we talk about over here on the Edgertronic, because
Right.
if we can't be repeatable on the mound, we can't really do much with pitch design, right? Because our
Yep.
hand's always in a different
Different
place.
spot, hard to throw strikes that way too.
Right. So you can kind of see it, like this is like a drill work type setting where we have it on live.
Yep.
So you can mess with come and set here, man. And we can see it's kind of like a Doppler radar type thing where you can see where the force is in your toe. You can see where the force is in your heel. Mess with come and set more closed, come and set more open. See what it does to your weight distribution, and then ultimately, kind of when we get into a place where we like it, we'll have guys start repping it. So you can do both baseball stuff, plyo ball stuff right into a net off here. You can do water ball stuff. Guys will do a lot of back leg stability on here.
Yep.
Do med ball stuff as well. But we can switch over from the live mode where it's just kind of allowing you to see the data in real time.
Yep.
We'll get a couple pitches here for you where we can capture the video with it.
Oh yeah.
So once we set it over to this auto mode, what we'll be able to do is once you throw a pitch, it triggers, it gets some footage, and then we can link the footage up with the sensor mount data.
Oh, let's try it out here.
Yeah, let's rip one. Typically, you'll see the video come up right here.
Yep.
And then you'll have your delivery on the sensor data as well, right over here. And you'll be able to see exactly kind of based on where the video's at, see where your delivery's at. So you can see the red is kind of where your back foot was at, the green is where your front foot was at. And we can see exactly how you're riding down the slope and link it up with the video and really kind of make some good adjustments with guys.
I like that. I feel like I stayed decently connected on the backside there.
Yeah.
Not bad.
Yeah, you came out, you can see the ups and downs here.
Yeah.
You kind of came out at the
On
top
leg
of your
lift,
leg
right?
lift,
Like you were talking
like
about.
we were talking about.
Yep.
But ultimately, you're able to maintain good force riding down the slope, and then your front leg's a little light, but that's something we can work on with some drills.
Yeah, we need to get some water bag work in. All right, let's talk a little bit about the plyo wall and kind of how you guys utilize this. Obviously, very prevalent in today's game. Guys are throwing all kinds of different implements. Kind of walk me through what some of the things your guys focus on here.
Yeah, so you have a plyo wall here, but it's also kind of our arm prep area. So we talked about the armcare.com stuff. You can see crossover bands hooked up here that guys will be able to get their routines in with. Plyos, we have a whole throwing progression we go through with guys, usually like 4 to 5 everyday ones. And then we have like drill specific ones. So
Right.
if a guy needs to work on not rotating early in his delivery, not swinging open, we have a couple plyo drills that we'll do with guys. But it's just really for us, this is like a whole arm prep area,
Yep.
right? So you have your plyos, you have your bands, you can see some wrist weights over there, the Indian clubs over there. And then as we kind of swing around here, behind us, you can see we have our weightlifting area too. So this is another area where guys will come in and get a lot of recovery work in. Typically, like we'll have a Friday night starter
Yep.
that will be lifting in here on Saturday and Sunday
Sure.
during BP. They don't have to go over across campus to use the main weight room.
Right.
They can just come in here during BP. Maybe there's one guy who went long out of the bullpen too that's lifting with them, but having a rack in here just by the field allows guys to get work in, be able to go in there, get their post workout shake in our fuel station, and then they'll be able to come right out after BP and be ready for the game, right?
Absolutely, yeah. The efficiency and convenience of it has just got to be huge for the guys to be able to have this area right here. And again, it all kind of ties back to recovery and making sure guys are feeling their best when it matters most, right?
Yeah, and just making sure guys are in position to compete, right? So this building is a really good building for us. There's obviously like a ton of stuff that we do in here, whether it's arm prep, throwing wise, like with bullpens you guys saw earlier, recovery in between, whether it's arm care or lifts in here for guys. But ultimately out there, it's about competing, right? We don't want guys thinking about how they're working down the slope. We don't want guys thinking about like pitch design stuff at release. Maybe there's like 1 or 2 or 3 cues that guys pick up during the season.
Right.
One for the fastball, one for the changeup, one for the slider that they really fall in love with. And hopefully it simplifies them. And then out there, they just focus on competing, right?
just go.
'Cause
Yep.
we play in a gauntlet of a league, right? So
Yep.
if you're thinking about mechanics, it's really tough out there.
Absolutely. Hard to throw strikes that way.
Yeah.